Hello, love. Welcome to the show. Today, I want to talk about how you can expand your wealth frequency and how you can also expand that wealth container so you can start to attract abundance. So, let me explain. Most people have a wealth glass ceiling or a wealth barometer, and that is a number, an amount, a dollar amount that feels comfortable to them, something that they are familiar with. This can be the money that you make, so whatever that salary is. This can be if you are an entrepreneur and you have products or services, the amount that you believe that you are capable of making. But intuitively, we all have a number that feels comfortable for us. And a way to gauge this number is to ask yourself questions like, how does $100 feel to me? How does $1,000 feel to me? How does $10,000 feel to me? How does $100,000 feel to me? How does $500,000 feel? How does $1 million feel? And as you start to increase that number, the body will react to a certain amount that intuitively lets you know that is where you start to feel misaligned. That is more than your wealth container can hold. And so what that means is, let's say that you want to make $100,000 this year, but your wealth container only feels comfortable holding $50,000. Then any dollar amount you make over $50,000 is going to set you over the limit of that wealth container, which means you are going to subconsciously start to push that money down. You're going to repel it. And the way that you do this is you may overspend for something. You might give it away. You might save it and hoard it and never spend it. But you will subconsciously do things that you don't even realize you're doing because you do not feel comfortable with that amount of money. You see this a lot when people come into money really quickly and they've never had money before. And all of a sudden they're broke. Think about somebody who's won the lottery, or think about somebody who inherited a bunch of money and they didn't feel comfortable with it. And so they ran out of that money very quickly. Well, that's what happens when your glass ceiling or that barometer, that thermostat is set to a specific temperature. So like we said, in this case, the temperature being the dollar amount, which is the $50,000. And this shows up in a lot of ways. Hypothetically, let's use the example of applying for a job. When you go for a job interview and that employer asks, what is your starting salary? You would, if you didn't feel comfortable asking for your worth or asking for the amount that you wanted to, you would actually tell them a lesser amount. So if that dollar amount was $100,000, you might say $75,000 or $85,000 because subconsciously that is what you feel comfortable making. Because most people, their nervous system does not feel safe holding more, because that's not what they're comfortable with. We are comfortable with familiarity. So anything that we know, that becomes our barometer, our glass ceiling. So if you've been making a fixed amount for the last 10 years as a salary, and you haven't actually gone over that, you're going to have a hard time asking your boss for a raise or accepting a bonus. And if you're an entrepreneur, you're going to have a hard time asking clients to pay you more, to upsell things, to charge more for your products and services, because you are not comfortable in that amount because your nervous system has not been regulated to feel safe holding that dollar amount. This can be $10, $20, $100, $1,000, and any other dollar amount. It's what your body feels safe holding. So in order for you to expand that container, to allow your body to start to receive abundance, you have to become an energetic match for the thing that you want to attract. I speak a lot about being an energetic match because every single thing on the planet is energy. We are all frequency. We are radiating at whatever frequency we are in that moment. So it can be high or low or anything in between. And in order to be a match for the thing that you want to attract, you need to radiate at a higher frequency. So the first thing that we want to do in order to become abundant, to expand that wealth container, is we want to feel safe in our nervous system. And the best way to do that is through any somatic practices. So somatic practices are just body practices, things that you can do to go internally and ground your body in the present moment. This can look like yoga. You guys know I love yoga. This can be breath work, which is probably the thing I would recommend because you can do breath work anywhere at any time, and it helps you ground yourself, and you can do it in a matter of seconds. You can also do EFT tapping. You can do shaking. You can do anything that feels right to you. Once you ground yourself and you are calm in this moment, calm enough to understand why you are not able to receive the thing that you want. Because this does not just apply to wealth in monetary terms. This can apply to you being able to accept compliments, gifts, and just receiving things in general. If you don't feel safe receiving things, that is because you don't feel safe. Something internally, there is a belief deep in your subconscious programming that makes you feel unsafe. And it's only doing that because it thinks that it is protecting you. But unfortunately, it's not protecting you. So we want to clear that limiting belief. So once you do step one, which is to ground yourself and regulate your nervous system with any somatic practices, then I want you to clear the fear that you have. 9 out of 10 times, the fear is something that has been subconsciously stored since childhood. It's sometimes a memory that we have to really think back on. When was the first time I felt uncomfortable with money, or I felt uncomfortable receiving compliments, or I felt uncomfortable receiving a gift? And let's go back to money. If you were growing up and your parents struggled, or they fought over money, or the electricity was turned off in your house because they couldn't afford the bills, or maybe you moved around a lot because they couldn't afford the rent or the mortgage, all of that has been subconsciously stored internally inside of you. And due to that, it has created fear around money. Fear that maybe you'll lose it, fear that you won't be loved if you make more than your family, fear of not having this house if it costs too much and you get in over your head. There's lots of fears that come up when we as children hear things, because when we are children, we are like sponges absorbing all of this. So if your parents fought over money, maybe there wasn't enough money and they had arguments over money, you might think that money causes tension, it causes arguments, it causes fights. That might be subconsciously stored in you. So step number 2 is to clear that fear, is to get to the core of what that fear is that you have about money that is keeping you at that glass ceiling. And we've all had a limiting belief. We all have limiting beliefs. But it's up to you to figure out which one you are carrying now that is subconsciously keeping you from expanding your wealth container. Because until you are able to trace that fear, you will always have a glass ceiling. Your subconscious mind feels safe protecting you. It feels safe doing what it knows and the boundaries that it's created in the belief system. You have patterns that you've created, and it's always going to go back to those patterns. And that's what we're trying to eliminate. We're trying to break those patterns. So step number 2 is find that fear so that you can clear it. And in order to clear it, I really love to journal, and I like to write journal prompts to ask myself, when was the first time I experienced this? Because you want to get to the core of how long has it been? Like, when did I first feel this? Because it's not necessarily the length of time you've been carrying the fear, but the reason why you want to know that is because it gives you an indication of how long you've been holding on to this belief and the questions you need to ask yourself to get through it, to work through it, to release it, so that you can rewrite it and expand this container, because we want to get you wealthy. We want to create abundance in your life. So get to the core of that. Imagine that time that you had that emotion, what that felt like. Journal on that. What was the first thing that I felt like? Did that happen when my parents fought? Was our electricity turned off? Like, really go back to that thing, that time, the emotion that you experienced, write it out. Feel that emotion, just how it happened in that moment. And then I want you to envision yourself today as the beautiful soul that you are, looking at that younger version of you, giving yourself a hug and loving you and telling yourself the story that you should have heard then. So essentially, I want you to reparent yourself. I want you to recondition that child to believe something different. And in that moment, I want you to feel like you are the child receiving that love from the parent. I want you to see that your parents did not fight, that you did not move around all the time, that money was flowing in abundance, that money was not scarcity or lack or poverty. I want you to rewrite that. Because when you do that, you're able to release that fear and that emotion. And when you're able to release that, one, it feels so good because you don't have the anxiety over asking for the money that you're worth, accepting the gifts, taking the compliments. You feel open to receiving. And you also feel calm because you have regulated your nervous system in the process. And once you do that, I want you to move to step number 3. And step number 3 is to rewrite your money story. Now I want you to speak positive self-talk into existence. I am wealthy. I attract abundance. Everything flows to me effortlessly. I am a magnet for the things I want to receive. I want you to say as many of these things as possible, whether you have a conversation with yourself, so this self-dialogue, so that you are actually communicating back and forth as if there was a person in front of you with yourself, so that you can heal this internal pattern inside of you and create new neural pathways in your brain. I want you to do either positive self-talk or I want you to use affirmations. If you need any affirmations, I have a bunch of them on my YouTube channel. They will help you tremendously. But I want you to use those 3 tips to open up your vessel to receive. Because until you rewrite your money story, you will always have a block on the amount that you can receive. We want you to get beyond that block. And I actually have a program. It's called Unewal Reset. Unewal stands for You Renewed, You Restored. And this is all about wealth frequency. It's about operating at your highest frequency, about attracting abundance, monetary abundance, about really rewriting those subconscious beliefs that you have stored since childhood, finding them, rewriting them, clearing all of your fears, healing that nervous system, being able to ask for your worth, getting that raise if you work in a 9-to-5 or any corporate job or any job in general. And it's being able to sell your products and services with conviction and start to attract abundance. I took this course while I was creating it and I started to attract more clients and more money into my bank account. It felt so good because this is the solution and it is a game changer. It literally healed me and changed my life. So if you are looking for guidance and you want someone to support you, you get direct access to me. And this course is literally $111. I priced it super low because I want something tangible that is transformational for my clients and my audience to have, because nobody should be held back because of their limiting beliefs, because of their childhood programming, because of any glass ceiling. We should all have abundance. That is your birthright. And I want to see that for you. So today, use these 3 tips. It's going to help you so much. Ground yourself in somatic practices. Really clear those fears through as many journal prompts and tracing that fear to its origin. And then I want you to rewrite that money story, because everything is absolutely possible for you and you deserve nothing but the best. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. I love you and I will see you on the next one.